Hello. Hello, everyone. Takisha here. Just going to take a second and place our little subject thing in the comments and pin it. And there is Tel. Hi, Tel. I hope everyone is having a great day. Autocorrect won't let me be great. Hello, 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 hello. Okay. Come on in. All right, let's see if this will work. Go ahead and take a second. Maybe let us know where you are tuning in from. Here we go. I think that's right. Pin comment. Yes. Okay. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. So thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Takisha August. I am Head Empress / community manager. That's basically our way of saying community manager here at the Origin Company and inside of the Origin membership. And today I am going to be joined by our resident central nervous system healing expert, Tele Darden. And she's going to join us and we're going to have a conversation all about the nervous system and why it's important to, the process of running your business and doing so in a way that is sustainable and supportive to who you are and the message you are trying to get out into the world to your people. So if you can, let's see. Let's see, Tel, are you able to request? If you didn't see the option to request to join, you can pop out and pop back in and there should be a little option that'll say request to join. Oh, I think this is you. Yes. Amazing. If this works. Awesome. I'm so happy that you all are here to join us. If this is your first time joining in on a live, just like pop an emoji here in the chat. Let's see. May technology be a supportive force for our good today. The one thing that I think we have all learned in this time of pandemic era and being on virtual things is how the things work and sometimes they don't. And that in and of itself has been an invitation to check in with our nervous system and whether or not we are tuned in and able to be calm. Okay, it says you are unable to join. Let's try this again. And by now, everyone knows what it's like to navigate all the things. Hey, Harvesting Happiness in the City. It's your first time. Welcome, welcome. All right, Tel, it's saying that you're unable to join. Oh, bummer. You guys, as soon as this incredible human is able to join us, you will completely understand how we inside of the Origin Company are able to breathe a little more deeply each and every month because her teachings are so amazing and incredible and so necessary. And one of the things that really sets the Origin Company and the Origin membership apart from so many others that I've even seen in the marketplace as a consumer and as an observer is our focus on, bringing the whole self, the whole entrepreneur, the whole leader, the whole human to the work and conversation around doing less and reimagining the way we work and regulating our central nervous system, and healing trauma, cultural trauma, emotional trauma, physical trauma, all the things that get in the way of us showing up in the way that we want. All right, let's see. Bum, bum, bum. Let's try this again. There she is!
Okay.
Yay!
I'm gonna be a little crooked for just a second here as I attach to this little.
Amazing. So welcome again. This is Tele Darden, who is our resident central nervous system healing expert here at the Origin Company, and inside of the Origin membership, where she delivers a
Okay.
session inside of the membership once a month. So welcome, Tel. I'm so glad you're here. This is your first live, right?
Oh, that's good. This is my first live, so thank you, every patient. I'm actually here, right? You can see me and hear me, and
Yeah, I can see you, hear you. You're perfect.
okay, great, great. Okay, okay. Thank
Awesome.
you for having
Well,
me. I'm really excited
of
to have the
course.
convo, so it's great.
Yeah. And just so you know, there is a little bit of a delay. So if it ever feels like we're talking on top of each other, it'll all be fine. We'll figure it all out.
Okay.
But I'd love for you to just start out by telling us who you are, what it is specifically that you do, and what led you to this healing work that you're doing.
Yeah, so these days I'm so curious about like, oh, what's your sacred title, right? And I think where I land these days is really just embodied guide for healers, and I really define that so broadly, right? So for all the folks who are really anchoring in to bring more good, more healing, more beauty into the world, I'm like, your healer, you is that, and I'll work with all of you folks, because that's really what I feel like my vocational purpose is in the world, is to support those beautiful visions for coming in and really supporting the folks who are doing the work to be well. Like that's really what I want. Is I want all the folks who are doing the work for healing others or contributing to the highest good, right? Contributing to this like new earth that we are all here creating, to be well and have healing that's easy. So that is, a huge part of my work. I do it through intuitive coaching, somatic coaching. We really look at, how to be more deeply in our in our businesses and our spiritual lives, just like in having a body on the planet right now. And, really, I think that my work has just evolved. I started off in 2007, so 13,
Wow.
14 years ago. I like left the nonprofit world, and which was such a bad fit for me, but I knew I wanted to do some good, not the arena to work in. And I went to massage school because they would take me, right? It was not like, oh, I had this big vision, but it was like, oh, I got a breadcrumb, right? Do more hands-on work. And so that is, that's where I ended up. And from there, it was just really, again, like following breadcrumb after breadcrumb. Oh, begin to look a little bit deeper into the body. So I started to study like what's happening with the organs. What could I affect with the organs? And then that really led me to my work with biodynamic craniosacral therapy, and really
Amazing.
beginning to look at the nervous system from that perspective. And when that called me even deeper into trauma resolution, that's really when, like within the past 5 or 6 years or so, that my practice and my own healing has really just has deepened so much more fully. So that's
Wow.
really what I offer into the world now, and I just really try to always be more present with my own embodiment, more present with my own healing, my own trauma resolution, right? Really just resolving those imprints from my own history, and really honoring this ancestral lineage that I'm a part of, really honoring the divine feminine and all the ways that she moves through my work. And I just try to listen and follow the breadcrumbs that they keep
Yeah.
offering me. Yeah.
I love you. You have so many tools that contribute to the work that you're doing. And I feel even more honored that you're able to share with us every month inside of Origin. I have the privilege of listening to you a couple of times during the month, as someone who's holding the space behind the scenes while you're delivering in the community, and then also return to your lessons on my own and have found them to be so incredibly powerful and transformative. So thank you so much for myself and on behalf of all of us here. I'm wondering also if you can speak to why central nervous system healing is important for business owners, for entrepreneurs, from your perspective, and how that might inform how you deliver and share your wisdom in our space.
Yeah, and I will also just name that it's just such a pleasure to work with the folks there and the women that are there, because there's just such a huge capacity and just this big desire to already drop in and deepen into the body. So it's such a gift and a pleasure to be with this group every month. And I would really say that my thoughts are that you have a body and you have a business, right? And so your body is going to be participating in your business, whether you're intentional about that or not, right? Like your body's on board, it's going to be there. And so when you can drop in and get really intentional about including your body instead of overriding your body in the process, then it just opens up this new realm of possibility, of magic, of quite honestly, like miracles get to happen, right? Because you're not in a state of override and you're operating, or you have the choice and the possibility to really operate from this place of um, this question of like, what is most aligned to you, right? What is most aligned to your soul? What is most aligned to your vocational purpose? Because you get to listen in, right? And I think that we all have this desire, we all have this work that would be truly us. Like, what are we truly here to bring forth into the world? And that is outside of the imprints of the collective, that is outside of the imprints of whatever we may have inherited from our people, right? It's like if we can push those things enough to the side and say, well, what is it, what I truly want? Well, your body has the
Mm,
answers to all of that. And so when we can listen in deeply enough, then you get to figure it out, but you get to figure it out with ease, right? It's like it's not striving anymore. It just gets to be a whole lot easier.
yeah. Oh, I love that. I know as a participant and an observer what it's done for us in the community, but just hearing you say it again just feels even more resonant, because what we many of us have experienced, and what we found is that it's really a challenge for a lot of people, especially now during this era where there's so much going on to distract us, and to pull us in a million directions. It's really a challenge to focus and to justify, like, finding the time and the energy and having the capacity, as you mentioned, to just kind of sit and tune in and trust our bodies. Um, so what could you say to someone who perhaps is tuning in or listens to the replay and they're like, what is this? Like, what is the process? What would someone expect in working with you or diving deeper in nervous system healing? And if you're new to this, or it feels impossible to just tune in and, like, do I have to empty my mind? Like, what is something that you can maybe lend to people who might find this challenging?
Yeah, I love it. And I love beginners. I love even in my practice today, after many years, I just love approaching it with a beginner's mind. And so what I would say to someone who's new to this kind of work, because the way that we do it in Origin is a little different, right? It's like, it's not just like we're going to drop in and have meditation. It's like, we're really going to honor what is available in the moment. And so, I think that what I would share with them is really like, well, we start with what is available. We start with what's doable.
Mm,
And there's a whole range of what that might look, and it's all right. right? Like it's all exactly right. There are no shoulds here. There are no musts here. It really is honoring and following what you need, what you feel in the moment. And if you don't know, then that's perfect, right? We figure it out. Over time, we deepen into these experiences, and over time, we grow the capacity to build, to build this awareness, right? And this ability to notice ourselves. And even having a body today, right? To even say, like, oh, I have a body, I'm a person with a body, instead of just like operating from this mental place when everything is so quick, right? Everything is moving so fast, like you named. It's a miracle to be able to have a body. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's just space for everyone to be able to participate and show up in whatever way feels right for them. Some people are like super capacity and are just like, oh, I'm super precise in what I'm able to notice. And others are like, I slept through the whole thing, right? And it's all really right. But really, I think that what Origin offers and what we, offer in this space is just a chance to be intentional, about slowing down, about opening up to that possibility, a container that's safe. And when we hold that container together in the group field, I think that something very powerful happens when we're all together, kind of tuning into the same level of awareness. So, for new folks, like, come on in, you're welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. There's no rights and no wrongs and no shoulds and no musts. And over time, you get to build something really beautiful for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. That's that it feels so accessible, right? So if
Right.
you're, like you said, you love beginners, and if you haven't had an opportunity yet, those of you listening and watching the replay, Tell wrote a beautiful post that is up on theorigincompany.co in our blog for the day. If you're on our list, you received the email. And I would love it too, if anyone has any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. But I'd love to know also, you shared several points in your post to support people in, aligning their nervous system with, the process of reimagining the way they're working. And I'm wondering, how can someone, if they're doing all these things, how do they know it's working? Because we're kind of like this transactional culture, right? Like, oh, well, how much time do I need to do this? What is, how do I know if it's working? Like, what is my gauge? What is the ROI for the blah, blah, blah? And of course, once we kind of get out of that thinking, that's really where the healing starts, I
Yeah.
believe. But if someone is wondering whether or not this work or this intentional practice is working for them, how might they notice?
Yeah, I think it's such a great question, right? Because really, it's an uncomfortable realm to begin in the mystery, to begin in the unknown. And a lot of this work happens and it feels kind of invisible, right? It's like what I wrote in my post. Like, if you had looked at me in this past year as I was re-envisioning my work, it would have looked like I was puttering around in the garden. I was standing in the middle of streams talking to myself, right? I was like standing on rocks, like taking notes in my journal. Like, it would have looked, for someone just passing by, like it would have looked a lot like not much. Right. And so this question of like, how do we know it's working? Well, if you can tune in, right? It's the inner knowing. For a lot of the work that we offer, it's the inner changes that we make that then get reflected into the outer world, right? And so there's if you think about like, what's the ROI? Well, what's the ROI on being able to connect to your heart and being able to have a self, have a yes, have like a sacred yes, have a knowing of boundaries and desire and pleasure and enjoyment in work? Like, that's the ROI. Right. And
Mm,
so over time, when I say like, oh, there are miracles happen, but for me, that shows up as like, oh, I've done the inner work. And then effortlessly, it gets returned to me through the outer work. Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
It's
that.
less
I love,
which,
yeah.
yeah, it can be It's just a paradigm shift, right? You just got to like shift the way you think about what's tangible for the way that you work. Yeah, but this way I have found, and maybe you found it too, and maybe there are others who are watching, it's just sustainable, right? And that's what I want. Like I want longevity. Like I love my work. I want to be able to do it and feel good doing it for as long as
Mhm.
possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in your experience in working with people for several years, how have you observed people expanding into, maybe a deeper wisdom around what they're even here to be doing, or having even the ability to release the things that aren't happening? So, in the last year and a half, we've seen a lot of people pivoting and changing direction and changing their niche or changing their focus. How can central nervous system healing contribute to, the critical work of growing a business and making an income and all of that, but getting really focused and doing it intentionally?
Yeah, I think that, what shows up for me as you ask that question really is it's a shift from guessing to knowing,
Mm.
right? So I might think about, like, I might be able to strategically think about what the next steps are because someone has laid those, right? Or like I'm following someone else's model of like what the next steps are for my business, like how to get to or reach my goal. And there may be an uncertainty, right? Like, okay, I'm going to do this thing because it's the way that it's done or because it's the way that I'm told that it's done. But when you get to drop in and when you really get to choose your own like heart strategy, your own inner strategy, then it's a knowing and there's a certainty and you get to have a little bit of trust, like, oh, the outcome might not look exactly like I thought it was going to, but it's going to be in alignment with what I'm here to do. Right. And I think that is, that for me is just the most beautiful thing, right? From this is the way that it should have been. This is the way my business should have looked. This is the way that everyone else is doing it, to figuring out and really like dropping into this place of like, yeah, this is mine. This is what I am here to create, right? This is my beauty. This is
Mm.
my offering. And it's sacred, right? Really, no one else could could offer it. So, I hope
Yeah.
that maybe that gets close to answering. Yeah.
Yeah. Because for sure, definitely in a sea of so many people doing similar things, it's really healing to the process of building a business when you know for sure what sets you apart. If you are an artist, if you are, an entrepreneur inside of a company and you're competing for, business and clients, and then once you realize like, oh, this is what sets me apart and I know this to be true, then it's like all of that work together works in tandem to allow people to show up in a new way. And that's, like I mentioned earlier, what I love so much about the space that we're holding here in Origin, at the Origin Company and inside of the membership, is that we're doing this very differently than any place else that I've personally seen. I mean, maybe there's something else, but I've had my ear to the ground for a number of years, and I have yet to see space that really intentionally focuses on the nervous system and business, and this concept around aligning our body with the work that we're doing and considering our body first as like our primary business partner. um, so if someone were um, considering deepening into this work for themselves, or they kind of feel like, you know, this sounds great and all, but I think I'm clear, or I don't know that I need any healing, or I don't know what's going on. Clearly, my dog needs a little healing. She's, speaking to us. If someone is new to this space and they're considering, like, I don't know that I particularly align with this concept. You said that the people inside of Origin that you've held space for so far seem to be open and have the capacity to show up in this way. what if someone feels like, well, I don't know if I'm one of those people. Like, I'm not going to stand on a rock with a journal and like that's just not who I am. I mean, I for one am that person in my
Yes.
neighborhood. But I also know of people who are like, well, I don't know, that seems a little too woo woo for me. Or maybe like that's for people who have all this space and time and they're already making so much money in their business. So of course they have time to just sit still. What might you say to those people?
Yeah, so the ones who are still, looking, it sounds like these are folks, right? If this feels like resonant for you, like you're still looking. There's something calling you, and it doesn't have to
Hmm.
be the stream, it doesn't have to be naps in the hammock, right? It does those things. But what's the thing that's calling you, right?
Yeah.
Is it more ease? What's the thing that's, like, if only my work could look like this, right? Before the hammocks, before the turn around in the garden, it was like, oh, if only there was ease, if only it was just a little clearer, if only it was just a little bit different. And that
Hmm.
is the heart longing, right? And so that is what there is a possibility for in within origin. And my heart
Yeah.
longing, right, was like, I need more time in big nature, I need more space, I need like more time in my week to be, but your heart longing is going to be different. Like that's what's so
Hmm.
amazing. Your business is going to be different. And I think that what
Yeah.
Origin does is it gives and allows the space for like whatever your heart longing is to really fully emerge. And it offers so much support for you to be able to follow that. Right. And so if you're like,
Yeah.
I'm never going to be a nature person, I am like, go get them, like, wanna just like make it work. Like, I don't have the money right now. I don't have the time right now. Okay. But there's something, right?
Hmm.
And when you build in the doable piece of following or listening to that something,
Hmm.
you get to create it however you want, right? Like I'm one, Takisha, you're one example. There are so many examples of women who are doing it in a different way. And so it
Yeah.
might just look different for you. But the thing is no one's going to tell you this is how it should look. It really is
Yeah.
about like, what is your heart's desire and how do you follow that?
Yeah. I love that. And you mentioned that you came from the nonprofit world. I also came from that world. Um, and I'm familiar with the grind of of a nonprofit environment. You might imagine like, oh, you're doing good work. You know, it's probably really peaceful and calm. And I don't know about you, but for me, it was a lot of unaligned action that felt, that was worthwhile. And so I'm so glad that you are evidence of someone who's come from a space of like, this doesn't feel aligned, or like we're grinding and we're like nailing ourselves to the wall for the sake of whatever cause and funding and all the stress that might come with all of that. And now you are able to hold space in a way for yourself and for the people that you work with and inside of Origin, and also as a mother. I know we talked briefly recently about the return to school and all the all the emotions that kind of come with that. And so I'm so grateful. There were a few people here that are inside of Origin that commented about how beautiful a soul you are and how helpful the recordings and the sessions have been. And so regardless of where you are in your life or your business, um, this work, this focus on central nervous system healing and attuning to the body and aligning this tool, this vessel that you're walking around the earth in, with the work that you're longing to do. And even if you're kind of still working through, like, is this possible? Like, all I know is hustle. Like, that's what we're supposed to do. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Like, I'm familiar with all of that. But I just want to encourage each and every one of you listening and watching that this is so possible. This is not for, the haves. If you feel like you are a have not, this is for all. This is for all of us, regardless of your background, your ancestral inheritance, any of that. It is accessible to you to be able to tap into your body and trust that the longings that you do have, as you mentioned, that those things are worth listening to and tuning into, and kind of the secrets to achieving the life and the business that you want with the level of ease that you truly desire, um, is possible. Is there any, we have a couple more minutes. Are there any questions? And I'll give people a few seconds to ask some questions. I see Eliza is here. Hi, Eliza.
Hey, Eliza.
Christine. Hi, now. Hi. Jamie, Mrs. Revy. Hi, Leah. Allison. Karen Brody. Hi there.
And, you know,
If any,
as we're waiting for
yeah.
folks to just,
Yeah.
as we're waiting for folks to just drop in questions, I'll say, like, you know, and before I transitioned my work because of COVID, like I ran a wellness center for 5 years. So, and that was
Mm,
all hustle. That was all grind. That was all like dollars and cents. Like, what's the bottom line every month? And so, you know, it just, there's just this possibility to do the work, right? Like just because you think it looks some way on the outside doesn't mean that that's how it is behind the scenes. And so, you know, really it's like, what do you want for behind the scenes? Like, what do you want for you in your business, even if it's, you
hmm
know, appearing to really work? Like, what is it that needs to shift? Yeah.
Yeah. And isn't that it's so ironic? Like the I also was on a team inside of a yoga studio, and the level of work and hustle that often
Yeah.
happens in spaces that are centered on wellness is so ironic. Um,
Yeah.
and a lot of times when you're running those
Right.
spaces, it's possible, and you wouldn't think so that it would be possible to kind of forget about your own body as you're focused on, you know, the bottom line that allows you to, you know, create space for healing for other people. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, I'm thank you for sharing that, because there are lots of people inside of Origin who run brick and mortars, who, like I said, are part of other corporations or agencies, who run service-based businesses. They're artists, they're doctors, they're, you know, there's equestrians, there's all kinds of people inside of Origin, and this work is accessible and useful for everyone. Okay, so it doesn't look like we have any questions. So I just want to thank you, Tel, for taking the time out of your day to share with us today. Oh, there's a question. Let's see. Oh yeah. So Lorena asks if you could share a favorite daily practice, Tel.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the thing that resources me the most personally is just being in nature. There is something about that can feel really compressive as you're doing work, as you're planning for work, as you are, you know, planning and strategizing and really like figuring out what the vision is or what the next steps are. That can feel a little compressive, right? It can be singularly focused. And so for me, finding some time every day to connect to bigger nature is super resourcing for me. And, you know, there are days where there's a variety and a range of what that looks like, right? Like this morning, I was lucky. Was able to get out and take a walk with my husband. It was lovely, you know, just to be with something bigger. But there are some days where it's like, yeah, the plant sitting next to me is going to be my access to nature, right? Like the stone that I have sitting, you know, at my feet right now, that's going to be how I spend time with nature. So,
Mm,
you know, it really is about knowing for me what is really fulfilling and what's really nourishing, and then finding that even if it's just like the smallest little bit. So yeah, great
yeah.
question. Mm-hmm.
And we have another question from Angela, who is inside of Origin. Hi,
Right.
Angela. She says, the more work I do to calm my nervous system, the more I get startled easily. Why is that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So sometimes what can show up and what can happen is that as we are building capacity, as we are deepening in, old patterns can show up to make themselves known, right? In this way that they can call for healing, right? And so, you know, I think it's such a point that you raise of like, yeah, it's a process. right? It's not like, oh, we just sit down, we meditate, and then, we snap our fingers and we're settled. Like there are, like there's a process to it. And so this startle reflex can come from, any number of places. But I think that what I would say is like, how are you meeting that? Right? Like, what is the way that you are really noticing that and honoring it? Your body's giving you a clue about the next piece work is that as that is showing up, especially as you are working with the nervous system, right? Like our bodies are going to show us where the imprint is when there's enough safety to be able to work with that imprint. So that startle reflex that sometimes can get written in pretty early. It's like, okay, great. This
Mm,
is the time. This is the time to begin to explore it and meet it.
I love that. So it's a process. It's not something that just happens
Yeah.
immediately. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a process because if you think about all of the layering that we have, right? There's like, that beautiful vision that we have for our lives and for our work. And then there's a lot of history that comes, also sometimes coupled with it, sometimes layered on top of it. And so that's the work really that we're doing every month is we're unlayering little bits at a time, right? And that can be like from my own personal history, that can be from just like the collective, from the culture, what I landed into, that can be from my ancestral lineage, it can come from places. We just get layers and layers and layers. And so the process is really about like, okay, what's this? Like, what's this piece? What's this layer? Let me look at it. Let me meet it. And then the more space that or the more time that we have to really move through those imprints, then we get to be more aligned with the blueprint, right? Like it makes more space for us to be more embodied, to have more of a body, to have more of a self, the more of those imprints that we meet.
Yeah. You mentioned a few times the ancestral lineage, and I, for one, am a nerd and a student of epigenetics and psychology and all of that. Believe it or not, I was up at 3 a.m., not able to sleep, and was just reading about epigenetics because that just seems like fun. Um, so a lot of times when people are, if someone is like, oh, I feel like I'm not really sure what this is that I'm navigating. Like it doesn't, I haven't had any traumatic experiences. There's no reason why I should have any blockages around showing up for my work or my family. What you're saying is it's possible that your stuff that you're navigating isn't really your stuff. Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah. And so I feel like this is an important piece of information, and something that I notice in myself, something that I notice in my clients. And so, if you're tuned in, I urge you to feel into whether this feels true for you or not, especially in the context of your business and your work. Is so for every threshold that we meet, every time and by threshold, I mean every time we step into something new, a new level of visibility, a new offering, a new person that we hire. Like every expansion, every change, every shift is going to be a threshold moment in our business. And so for each threshold we cross, there can be a piece of history, right? There can be the ones who came before you, right? You may not know their names, you may not know their faces. They may be a little further back in your lineage, who may have struggled or felt challenged by that, a similar threshold, a similar moment, right? Now, that's not saying like that your great 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 grandmother was like, I need to do more lives on Instagram, right? That was not her struggle, but it
No.
may, right? It may have been something around really stepping into a piece of she loved, right? Like the work that she wanted to do, and the conditions may not have been right for her to do that in the moment, right? Like if you're here, if you're able to watch this and like to be contemplating origin, there's a lot of privilege that comes with like being able to be in this space, right? The conditions right now are right for you to be able to make these moves in your business. That hasn't always been the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we can come up against these patterns because we inherit the bodies of our ancestors, right? We inherit the bodies of, and so we can come up against these moments where it's just like, I'm trying to step into more honoring. I'm trying to step into more visibility. I'm trying to step into more integrity or authenticity or whatever it is, like the general category. And it can feel a certain kind of way, right? As you were, because there's an inherited history that shows up,
Yeah.
right? And it's not lost, right? Like there are ones who can take care of those ones. It's not all your responsibility. There are so many ways to work with that and to heal that and to move through it and to differentiate between what's yours and what's theirs, to recognize the patterns. Like there's so many ways to work with it. So it's, it's rich territory and rich soil to begin a healing exploration. But yeah, I mean, those patterns can definitely show up, right? And they can come out of the blue and they can be like, what is this? Why am I afraid? Why am I sabotaging? Why am I, doing this action that's not aligned with what my vision was? Well, you might have to look a little further back. Honoring of their history,
Mm.
and that happens through the body. It happens through the nervous system.
Yeah. Thank you for that. That's so
Mm-hmm.
that's so good, and that's so affirming for anyone who might feel stuck and unsure about why they're stuck, and that it's possible to get beyond those spaces and not stay there. I have another question. Where are good places to get certified in these practices?
Um, yeah, so I think it's such a good question. Part of my work in the past year, really looking at certification and looking at permission and like who are the gatekeepers, who are the permission holders for this
Mm,
kind of work. And so, part of me is like, do your work and work in integrity, and that's your certification. I totally get that there are so many, and like I was here for years, right? I got my massage license, I got my craniosacral certification, I have done so many, 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 many trainings and so many certifications under my belt. And so I would definitely say that my personal favorite to do the somatic healing, the trauma resolution work with embodiment of spirit, because it weaves all of it in, is alchemical alignment. My favorite place to be. I have studied that work. I have been, a part of that community for many years. So they're, here on Instagram. Um, if if you are further away, you can do, I mean, there's so many options, right? You can do um, any number of trainings that have really the weaving in of trauma resolution plus somatic healing can be
mm,
possible. And, there, and I think that the really great ones are going to be the ones that you feel most aligned with, right? You can like learn for a little while in one technique and then you can switch because everyone's going to have kind of a different perspective around.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I just want to name how typical it is of us. If you are here, you are probably a healer, you are probably a business owner, a service provider. We have a tendency to see the tools and the resources that are available to us as um, something that may not be for us, or like, oh great, yes, it's for us, and I also want to add this to the thing, right? And from what I've observed, because I was very much this way, like everything that I experienced that I loved, I was like, I want to get a certification in this thing because I want to tell everyone else about it, instead of allowing those tools to heal my own stuff and my own need to constantly show up in a different way all the time, and just allow myself to be entrenched in that healing process, in that container, that whatever that practice or teaching is for myself, so that I can deepen into what I'm already doing in the world. So I just wanted to put that out there. A lot of times, what we have already is enough. And I too have kind of been navigating like who are the gatekeepers for the different certifications and the things. If you feel called to do a deeper work in whatever realm you're working in. Um, but a lot of times what you're receiving and the healing spaces that you are in or find yourself in, especially in origin, are for the purpose of your own, yeah, for your own healing and for your own deepening into so that you can listen more clearly to what it is that you're supposed to be doing. So I'll just say that.
Yeah, and also I would say that, let the resident astrologer just did this amazing offering on finding your soul customer, which was like revolutionary.
Yeah,
I
it was
think
so
for
good.
me and so many others, so good. And I think that there's just something so important, Takisha, that you name, that listening to her offering really helped me to be so clear about, is like, okay, yeah, we can differentiate between what we need for our own healing and what we need to offer in the world,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you can still receive it both, but it's like, what is the purpose? And being so clear
Mm-hmm.
about, okay, this is for my personal healing, and this is actually another tool or skill that I need to offer my clients. And it's
Mm-hmm.
exactly like you were saying, like most of us already have every tool and skill. Like by the time they reach this place of being in origin and like, working in their business for a little bit of time, like you have so many tools, you have so many skills already available to you to offer to your clients. And it's just nice to be able to own your value and to be able to
Mm-hmm.
differentiate, right, between my personal and then my professional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Mhm.
All right, friends. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Tel. I encourage you all to follow Tel. You can hit the little origin icon at the top and it'll show you where Tel is, and you can go follow her. She's incredible. I don't know how much time she spends here on Instagram, but her work is to be followed and to be honored. And if you are in origin, make time for her sessions. If you are not in origin, get on the wait list so that you can be a part of her sessions. And please tell people where are you on the interwebs? Where can people connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm here on Instagram. I mean, mostly you're going to get a lot of pictures of rocks and trees. So if
I
that
love
feels like
it.
your thing, please come. I mean, I will be posting more. This is a part of my work, my personal work now, is to share a little more, to say a little more. My people are like, you need to talk a little more about your work. So I'll be doing that
Hmm.
here. And then, I have a website. It's teledarden.com. So it's really simple. And I'm in Origin too. Every month I show up there and hold space for you all. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Thank
Well,
you. Thank you.
thank
Yeah.
you all so much. If you are just joining, we're about to end, but it will be available here to watch the replay. So many great, useful nuggets, things to consider and ponder, and some tools to support you today and onward. So thank you so much, Tel. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and have a wonderful day.